Porn. Yes, pornography. Now, here's a dirty little secret. You are paying the salaries of some federal employees who watch porn rather than doing their jobs, and some government employees thinks it's okay to do it, to watch the porn on your dime, and yes, on computers you paid for. On the record to investigate what's being done to stop it, if anything, in minutes, but right now, they're the worst. If you thought you could not hate the IRS any more than you already do, brace yourself for this one. The IRS is seizing the bank accounts of small businesses, forcing business owners who have done nothing wrong to do battle with the tax agency. One of the business owners is Andrew Clyde, an Iraq War veteran. He opened a small firearms store in Georgia. Clyde says he was wrongly targeted by the IRS because of a murky federal program. The program allows the IRS to seize assets they suspect could be tied to criminal activity, even without actual criminal activity. And now Clyde taking his case to Capitol Hill.
I did not serve 3 combat tours in Iraq, only to come home and be extorted by my government's use of civil forfeiture laws. But that is what I feel they have done to me, and I need you to stop it from happening to anyone else.
And business owner, Navy veteran Andrew Clyde joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Greta. How are you?
I'm very well. So tell me what happened. You were running your business, and what happened?
I was running my business, and on April the 12th, 2013, 2 IRS agents showed up and with a seizure warrant and took $940,313 from my company's bank account. And
Had you ever...
they told me that... Go ahead.
I'm sorry. They told you what?
And they told me I was that I had been structuring.
All right. And by structuring, what they mean is that the IRS, the laws are such that if you deposit more than $10,000 in the bank, that the banks are obliged to notify the federal government. But structuring is that, for instance, if you keep putting $9,000 in to beat the $10,000 requirement, right?
Yeah, that's what they said. That's correct. I had no idea what it even was.
Okay. So tell me, what were you doing?
We were just depositing less than $10,000 in the bank on a regular basis. As a small business, you want to manage risk. You know, and any time that you send cash out of the store to deposit, you know, that's risk.
And so had you ever heard from the IRS before that? They just suddenly showed up and seized your $940,000?
That is correct. I never heard from the IRS before.
All right, so then what happened? After they seized the money, what did you do? That's a lot of cash to have seized by the IRS.
It's a lot of cash to be seized. It was most everything we had in that bank account. They said, call my attorney and have him talk to the Assistant United States Attorney. And so we had a conference about 6 days later between my attorney, my accountant, the IRS agents, and the Assistant United States Attorney. And we showed them this was legitimate money, you know, properly earned, properly reported, and we wanted it back. And they said, no, we're not going to give it back. They came about 3 weeks later with an offer to give me back $600,000 of it if I would forfeit $325,000 to the federal government. And I said, no, absolutely not.
So where does it stand now? You, of course, let me understand, you've never been charged with any crime, right? There's no crime involved with this.
That is correct. There's no crime involved with this. In fact, in that offer, they specifically noted that that I had not been accused of I had not been charged with any crime, and that they noted that the money was clean, and that it was appropriately handled, that all taxes were paid. They noted that in the offer.
Did they return $940,000?
No, ma'am, they did not. We went to a hearing 3.5 months later where a judge forced the IRS to return $440,000 of it and then gave me an expedited trial. We never actually went to trial. It was my tactical retreat, if you will, so I could fight another day, and I ended up forfeiting $50,000 to the IRS, and they gave me the $450,000 back.
One other quick question: how much you pay in legal fees?
Everything, the forfeiture and the legal fees cost me $149,000, Greta.
That's disgraceful. Anyway, Andrew, thank you, and may the IRS won't apologize directly to you, but I will. Thank you, sir.
Well, thank you, Greta.
And it's not just a small business controversy. During another heated hearing, IRS Chief John Koskinen getting grilled on everything from the targeting scandal to the IRS rehiring tax cheats to work there.
Between 2010, January, and September 2013, the IRS rehired 7,000 employees. A great jobs program. And we're always delighted when people are employed. But the question comes from my people as to why over 800 of those 7,000 rehired IRS employees were rehired with prior substantial employment issues.
The bulk of those employees are temporaries or seasonals who are hired for 4 to 6, 8 months a year, depending on the time.
And Senator Rob Portman joins us. Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
I should ask that Commissioner Koskinen apologized to this vet, however, didn't return the $149,000 that the federal government. So I think that's a completely ridiculous apology. I would not accept that. But anyway, what is going on with these IRS?
Well, first of all, outrageous. And to Andrew Clyde, thank you for coming up to the Hill and testifying. We need to change the law. One, there needs to be some evidence of criminal wrongdoing. I mean, here's a guy who did nothing wrong. Second, he needs
and they kept his $149,000.
Yeah.
Or with legal fees.
Well, they should pay the legal fees. Anytime the IRS loses in this kind of a suit, they should pay the legal fees, because I think that has a really good effect on whether they'd bring the case or not. And you're a lawyer. You actually know how this thing works.
Yeah,
I mean, if the IRS knew they were going to have to pay the legal fees, it might help.
But
and
the legal
needs
fees
a hearing right away.
I would then be paying the legal fees as a taxpayer, which I would gladly, I'm sure many taxpayers would, because this is a vet. But I mean, there's got to be something more. These sort of rogue agents doing this brutal thing, and what's with a prosecutor being involved in this? And this is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it is outrageous. And so in this individual case, yes, they should give him not just all of his money back. They should pay some kind of restitution. But also, with regard to the law, we need to change the law, because clearly the IRS in this case is interpreting the law in a way that they're going after people who are perfectly innocent. And so it's another example, and there are plenty of them. We saw what happened with the IRS targeting conservatives. We've seen now with the IRS hiring folks who actually were cheating on their taxes, and they're bringing them back. And I think the commissioner was saying, well, they're only part-time. Well, I don't, as a taxpayer, I don't care if they're part-time or full-time. We can't cheat on our taxes. They shouldn't cheat on theirs.
I appreciate the hearings on Capitol Hill, but I'm sort of over the hearings. I really want to do. I mean, in the sense that I want to see the House and the Senate really do something. I'm sick of the hearings. And this poor man, that's just outrageous to do to him. Yeah. And, another hearing isn't going to do it.
There needs to be actions.
When is there going to be action? When are you going to,
by the way, the commissioner came to see us in the Finance Committee. I'm on the Senate Finance Committee, and this was last week, and he talked about the need for more funding. And look, I think taxpayers deserve good service, and when you don't have enough funding, people can't get their phone calls answered and so on. But I told him, I said, you're not going to get any more funding until you regain some element of trust in this agency. And
but let me just stop there. He wants $2 billion more in funding. That's what the president wants. There are, if you go look at the records, there is $3.3 billion. It's $1.3 billion more owed by current federal employees in back taxes. So instead of asking the taxpayers to pay more, why don't you collect? Why don't you collect?
The other problem here, as you know, is Obamacare. So when you actually look at the reason that the IRS is needing more funds to be able to do what they should be doing for all of us as taxpayers, it's because they've taken on this enormous burden that the president asked them to do under Obamacare. People don't realize that, but it's actually the IRS that's doing the implementation here. And that's what's costing them so much more. So really, it's a hidden cost in Obamacare. We talk about the $2 trillion cost over 10 years. It's really far more than that, because you can see it right now at the IRS. They don't have enough resources to be able to deal with people's questions about their 1040 because they're distracted on trying to verify incomes on Obamacare.
Well, it's very upsetting, and I feel terrible for people like this guest and others. And it's like,
thank goodness he's willing to come forward and talk about it, and I hope this initiates a legislative change.
I hope members of Congress and Senate are watching this, and they do something, because this is just disgraceful. Anyway, Senator, thank you for joining us.
Nice
to see you.